This podcast conversation is with a colleague and friend of mine, Jacqui, who is actually a very, very successful naturopath here in South Australia. This is a big topic. We are talking all things perimenopause and menopause, something that I think most women know is coming, but don't necessarily know what to do when they are in it. So buckle up. This is incredibly important. She also talks to the space of young women and as mums, how we support our young teens who are starting off with menstrual cycles and hormones. So it's a spectrum from teens right through to 80s. So pretty much we're all included. Enjoy this space. Okay, well, welcome, Jacqui, to 360 Woman. I'm so excited to have you. You and I go back a little way. Yeah. We kind of met through the traps, didn't we? Yeah. In business. I don't even remember where. Yeah. But we're local Glenelg girls doing our thing. Yeah. And when I was thinking about people to come on to have these conversations, you were absolutely on the list straight up because you're fabulous at what you do. And I think I've referred lots of people to you. I've seen you personally. I think you've just got a really great way of, first of all, for me, what was great about coming to see you was you were so good at being able to unpack the stuff and communicating it in like things that make sense to the non-expert. Do you know what I mean? Like, because I think for women especially, there's so much to know about our bodies. And from a hormone perspective, so much information, right, that I get lost in it. And you've just got this great way about just being very clear and very calm with a beautiful tone and explaining. So you're fabulous at that. So you were absolutely handpicked for this. So thank you for taking the time. We've got so much stuff. I'm so excited because there's so much to talk about today. So I don't want to talk too fast, right? So why don't you give, I guess, the audience just a bit of a snapshot of you, who you are, and how you landed in this space? Because I know it's been a long journey.
Yes, absolutely. So I studied to be a naturopath and herbal therapist straight out of high school. So I've always had a love for women's health and general, health. My mum, we never had a microwave at home. We were always making funky like face creams from home. So it was almost like I was destined in that natural health industry. And then opened my first business as a massage therapist when I first began the journey. And then as it came on, and I guess as I had kids, really, the whole women's health side of things, I understood a lot more as to what obviously mums go through, women go through, and really have spent now the last probably 15, 16 years, making my specialty women's health as a naturopath, and have a wellness hub in Glenelg that we have multiple functional therapists doing, functional testing, acupuncture, massage, our sauna, and really just trying to create a space where women can come and, have a slow down, some self-care, even just that bit of cup of tea in the reception where people could have
a beautiful space.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's massive. So, and then I guess the big part of what I do from a hormone testing point of view is, as you say, like being able to explain to clients exactly what that picture is. And I think we know our symptoms a lot of the time, but having that clarity in a document like that, I find it really empowering for clients. And that is the bit that I love, is helping women understand what is actually going on. Not that it's just you're in perimenopause and you have to have these symptoms. There's actually reasons why it's happening. And, this is what we can do.
And it's like a roadmap, right?
Absolutely.
That individual roadmap, because I think what happens, and you're the expert in this, but what happens with social media and we know so much, right? But then we come from this, it's a one size fits all.
Yeah.
And I think when you have that ability to just find your own piece of the puzzle, understand yourself, it's really powerful. And it's not too dissimilar to what I do as a therapist. It's like, that's who are we? How are we wired? How does our body function? And maybe what's going on?
Yeah.
And I think that is quite profound.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. And, clients love obviously seeing that picture, that clinical picture, I guess, melding both naturopathy, herbal medicine with more that clinical side. Yeah. It's just been really cool to see and give women that, it's really just about going back and empowering them, isn't it? And helping them understand the reason why they're feeling like they are.
And having the tools, I guess, to know what to do about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I guess I'm really keen today. There's so many areas we can go down. I'd like to start, if I can, with maybe the woman that's watching this who's got a teenage daughter who is just starting, you know, the transition into womanhood, I guess.
Yeah.
And what would you say to her, right?
Yeah.
Like, what are the things that we can be doing for our girls really early on?
Yeah.
And what are some of the things that I guess are really showing up a lot more in today's time?
In these, yeah. So I've got a 16-year-old, so good.
Okay, great. Good navigation.
Yeah, exactly. It's been amazing actually having her as a naturopath's daughter compared to, obviously, I have so many chats to her about what her friends know about their periods. And she is out there, you know, educating her friends.
Freaking.
Yeah. It's pretty insane, because all of a sudden all these things I've talked to her over the years about, we're sort of seeing back in the sense that, you know, a lot of these girls at that age, and I think it becomes, you know, education from mum, isn't it? So we want to pass down, you know, what is a period, what is ovulation, how does it all work, understanding the hormones, because we're not taught that often. And I feel like as a naturopath, I see women in their 40s and 50s that still don't understand progesterone, estrogen, ovulation. I've had women with multiple children even say to me, oh, I didn't even know what ovulation was or when that happens. And it's like, oh, okay. So I think the key is not, number one, you know, putting our hat over our heads and just pretending it's not happening, because a lot of the time I think these conversations, you know, we do need to open up a little bit more to our daughters about it, and we do see
from a younger age than we expect.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. Yeah. Like my 8-year-old, I mean, obviously granted I've got the 16 and 8-year-old, so it's a bit easy to have these open conversations, but you know, her exposed to that from a very early age of what is a period, what's going to happen, you know, obviously navigating depending on the context of the child and the age and all that sort of thing.
It's appropriate, I get that.
But just the knowledge that I've been able to teach, I find my daughter, my 16-year-old, helps her just to navigate the whole understanding of, you know, what is ovulation, what is happening from there, what is the period, you know, what does that actually mean for her? And then I think the biggest thing is what shouldn't be happening. So a lot of the time we're told, oh, mum had heavy periods or mum had painful periods, so so's my daughter. And we feel like it has to be a genetic thing where we suffered, maybe.
So that's just how it is.
It's just how it is. Whereas really it's like, okay, maybe there is that genetic profile that makes you more susceptible. But really at that age, ideally we don't want painful periods. We don't want heavy periods. We don't really want irregular cycles. It does take about 4 to 5 years for the brain and the ovaries to like get a good communication together.
Connect. Yep.
So we do say in those first, you know, 5 years or so, it can be normal to have the little bit of an irregular cycle and that sort of thing.
Kind of,
but we also don't want it to be so sporadic that it's, you know, 3 monthly or 6 monthly. So I think probably, you know, educating ourselves first and then passing that through to our daughters as to the red flags to look for. And really for me, for the girls this age, it's that PCOS sort of picture, whether it's like the acne, the missing cycles, the heavy periods, the painful periods. And then really coming back to that age group, I find looking at their diet and their sleep and their stress levels are probably similar to, you know, all ages. But again, educating our young ones on, you know,
the impact of it.
The impact in the sleep and the diet and, you know, all the things they're putting into their bodies. And how much of a flow on that has to even like skin and hormones. And, you know, I think nowadays I have a lot of, you know, age group that I see probably really from 16 onwards, and where you speak to these 15, 16-year-olds, and now unfortunately there's the whole thing of, you know, the vaping, the smoking, the this and that, and educating them on, you know,
the impact,
what that's looking like. So whether it's skin, inflammation, painful periods, and a lot of these girls,
they can't, but I think they find it hard to connect because they're like,
absolutely.
And it's no different to adults. It's kind of like, well, I enjoy it. I don't care. Or it's like me having a baby. I'm 15. I don't care about that. That's going to be another 20 years. But you're like, everything you do has impact.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
I hope you're really enjoying the content that you're listening to and watching today. If you are loving this podcast, I need your help. Please like and subscribe and share this with anyone and everyone that you think will really benefit from this. This will help me grow the podcast for content, for guests, and for lots of other things that I have planned. Keep enjoying. And that's a challenge, isn't it? You know?
Yeah, and that's right. It's an interesting age to work with, because obviously it's like, you know, it's a different lens they've got on as to how they want to look after their health. But And I find even if it's not necessarily they're taking action now, it's still education and it's still knowledge for them, so that when they get to, even if it's, you know, later teens or early 20s, they've got some education around
in it.
yeah, just some maybe some tools to take, or even just to know what is and is not normal and when it's time to
and asking the questions. And I think it's interesting because I know we're talking about women, but even like I'm raising a boy, right? And you know, he is all educated about periods.
Yeah.
Much, you know, even recently he came out, and I don't even know what context it was in, but my husband was having a coffee and he goes, Mum, you know, about your period, right? And I just went straight into, yeah, mate, what? And my husband was like, right? Yeah. But I love that, right?
Oh, they're so much more open.
They're so much more open. And I think it's about having that honest conversation, whether it be female, males in the family, because eventually these men are growing up and are maybe going to be impacted by a partner and I don't know, some of the challenges. So I think that authentic conversation is so important.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Yeah. So it's, I think, a lot around that. And then for me, for this age group, it's that dietary part that's, you know, all the inflammatory foods and just trying to, you know, for all age groups, we try not to speak too much about taking too many things out, but rather putting things into the diet. So just trying to educate them on, you know, variety of fruit and veg. It's back to basics, I think, with this age group. You know, some healthy oils, nuts and seeds, the avocados for their skin and their hormones.
Yeah, okay.
And just making sure, and for them, often the stress as well, isn't it? Like we're seeing quite a lot of stress in that sort of whole age group and the anxiety and that type of thing. So yeah, seeking help and realizing the flow on between stress and how much that can impact progesterone, PMS, heavy periods. Really the whole,
it's all connected, right?
Yeah.
It's all connected. So it's the open conversation and it's the trying to educate around the consequence of choices.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Which is hard to do, teens.
Yeah.
But I think it's about that constant repetition, isn't it? And for mums and dads, I guess, to be able to have that, some of the awkward, right?
Absolutely.
Because that's what I find a lot. You know, I don't do a lot of teen work, but I work with parents, right? And there's still a little bit of a barrier to the freedom of feeling comfortable in that space.
Oh, absolutely.
And it surprises me, but it's very real. You know, we're in 2024, but you know, there's still a bit of a rigidity around, you know, the dads don't want to talk about periods with their daughters. And so, you know, we've got a way to go.
I think we do. And really, I think we're having really this first generation that's coming through now where, you know, a lot of the time, you know, my age group, like my friends' mums never talked to them about their periods. You know, my mum was kind of like this anomaly, I remember thinking. And so I think now we're educating our children younger. No doubt that will follow through and it will happen. But we're really in this demographic now where, I think probably the majority would be that they're not having the conversations. Still. Yeah. Which is fair enough because I think the mums weren't taught to when they were young. So
it's like that generational thing, isn't it? It's about being equipped. And I think for mums watching this, it's, I guess the message is, you know, knowledge is power, right? And as mums, we don't always have the knowledge.
No.
So maybe it's about the educating firstly.
Yes.
And then the passing it down. And creating that space, which is awesome. Okay, that's cool. So just moving into the next bracket, feel free to jump in because I might miss a bracket, right? But, you know, this is heading into, you know, I guess women that are having babies, you know, infertility, babies, and the postpartum challenges and the impact of, I guess, that on women's health.
Yes.
You must see a lot.
Yes. Massive group of women in there.
Yeah.
Where do you start, isn't it? It's sort of like, I think from the fertility, like maybe we start in that sort of, you know, pre-fertility area where you see women really probably more so now, I guess, getting a bit later, isn't it? Yeah. Or that sort of 28 plus, I guess. I get people coming through in that age group. I'm still getting young women come in being super active, like proactive about their health, which is good to see more now. Yeah. But I think the challenges with fertility comes down to, again, probably just this misunderstanding. And there is a lot of, I find, you know, quick to act medical kind of stuff that gets involved here. Whereas I think taking fertility on as our general health, isn't it? Like it's such a big
It's not just about babies, right?
It's not just about
fertility is actually about our health and well-being.
Absolutely.
But people hear that word and babies.
Yeah, and just ovaries, egg, sperm, and that's it, you know. Whereas unfortunately we need to remember that where those eggs come from is our glands and our organs, and, you know, how well we look after those, you know, hugely impacts the ability to sustain a pregnancy, fall pregnant, and even the postpartum journey of, you know, how we look after ourselves, I guess. So probably the biggest demographics of people I see in that would be either the people having trouble conceiving and maintaining a pregnancy, and then the burnout after, which I think a lot of women probably aren't ready for, or, you know, they
talk about postpartum.
Yeah.
Postpartum. I love that you brought that up, because I think postpartum is like really glossed over and almost like ignored.
Yeah.
Right? Unless women are really suffering.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
The extreme cases
Yeah.
people know about.
Yeah.
But I think no one can prepare women
No.
for the other side, because
Yeah.
we spend so much time trying to get pregnant.
Absolutely.
All the things.
Yeah.
But it's the actual aftermath, dare I say,
Yeah.
that we're like,
That's
how do we do that?
Yeah. And yeah.
What's the biggest impact do you feel like for women in that space?
The pressures probably to maintain. So often I find when women are having kids later, they already have an expectation of themselves of like how they keep their house, how they run their life, all these things that they're very used to maintaining. And then you put a baby amongst that, and then I find most of the time it's expectation on ourselves, you know, to maintain all these standards we had before, keep up, perhaps
and
go
keep
back to
up
work.
with women who are posting and vlogging and
Absolutely, and their houses are gorgeous.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's a tough thing.
Yeah.
One of the things, and you know my story with infertility, you know, I had 8 years of infertility and then pregnant, gave birth, amazing. But I'd not thought I'd never considered a day post birth.
Yeah.
Like, because I was so like entwined and entangled in this journey.
Absolutely.
And I'll never forget.
Yeah.
I think we were like, he was maybe 10 days old.
Yeah.
Went to Marion, to do with your first like prem, and I was like, I got this, right? I don't think I'd slept for days, nights, whatever. And I was pushing around and I was feeling quite good. I was feeling a little, you know, under the weather. And I bumped into some people that I knew, and they were like, oh, amazing, look at him. And they said, and I remember the woman saying to me, oh, how are you doing? Right. And now I'm someone who, like, I'm just honest. So I was like, oh, I'm good. I said, it's been a wild ride and I'm pretty tired. And she literally said to me, well, you wanted this. You wanted it for 8 years, so you shouldn't complain. Yeah. And I went into this defense mode of, oh, I'm not complaining. It's just you asked me, and that's my honest truth. And I remember walking away, like I could feel the tears and also wanted to go back and go, actually, can I just... But it was that you wanted this, don't complain. Yes. And so then I was like, felt like I didn't have permission to be honest and real.
Yeah.
And I think it's that, like, that post-birthing, right? It's like, it's tough.
Yes.
On so many levels. I mean, you're not even recovered.
Yeah. No way.
Like 10 days in. Yeah. Like not recovered at all from a physical perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think as a society, we need to start doing a bit better.
Yeah. That aftercare is massive. Yeah. And really a lot of my focus on pregnant women is I say to them, let's be honest, like I'm actually building you up for the next phase. Like, great, you're pregnant. I offer so good. The easier bit for people in a way.
Yeah.
Unless it's tough. Yeah. But it's like, let's really make sure you are ready to run that next race of, actually having a child, the sleepless nights, the exhaustion.
And do it in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because most people probably reach out around that 3 to 6 month mark where they're just like, this is not okay. They're exhausted. And, whether it's like, not the normal postpartum hair loss, but like the full-on hair loss, the anxiety, the poor sleep, even if baby's asleep,
Anxiety is a big thing, isn't it?
Yeah, massive.
It's really massive.
And massively hormone-related.
I was going to say, because how much of it do you feel like is, because a lot of times people have predispositions or they struggle with anxiety, but then postpartum, it is this hormone surge, right?
Well, you're having... for those women that aren't having a period back, you're really having that lull in the progesterone. So you're not having that pregnancy progesterone anymore that supports you through pregnancy. Progesterone drops off. If there's no cycle, no ovulation, you're not making progesterone. So, and obviously for some women, that's a 6 to 12 month process to get their period back. So then also you have this, sleep deprivation, no progesterone, progesterone typically is the women's like anti-anxiety, like our calming hormone.
Yeah.
So often very, very depleted, and makes us, much more, exposed to those symptoms, really.
Yeah.
Which is tricky. Yeah.
And so I'm guessing, I know the answer to this, but you would recommend for women postpartum to continue on, or at least start the process of healing.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
From that natural perspective.
Yeah.
Aside from those that need medical intervention when it comes to, postnatal and all of that, which is a very serious and significant thing.
Yeah.
Aside from that medical intervention, you're obviously a big advocate for supporting the body, the whole body.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, with those people probably having babies later, they also probably before that haven't learned to slow down. So then all of a sudden there's this like, go of life. And then it's like, okay, have a baby.
They lose their identity, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And they're creating a new identity to motherhood with no roadmap.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And no slowness, really. So, we see the mum at home, baby's asleep, then they're cleaning, cooking, catching up from all the other things. Whereas it's and I didn't know this till like my third child. I swear it took me 3 to get my head around this. But, educating that it's okay to have a stop and a lay down, or I get people to lay with their legs up on the wall for that whole vagus nerve sort of thing, postpartum. And just taking, even if it's 5 minutes for themselves, because most of the time the cortisol from the moment they wake up, cortisol's up, stress hormones, it's go through the day.
Yeah.
And then that really kind of lasts all day long. And then we're wondering why that burnout's happening. It's kind of giving ourselves that permission, isn't it, to slow down and rest a little bit and have some slowness and some self-care at a time, often when we don't think to have self-care. Because it's all about baby.
It's all about baby.
But it doesn't have to be self-care like go get a massage. It's just, lay on your couch.
Yeah, have a cup of tea.
Yeah, and just stop.
Or, I remember saying to a mum recently in my rooms, I'm like, it's okay if you, just eat dinner off the floor with your kids, right? I mean, not off the floor.
Yeah.
But go for it. But do you know what I mean? You don't need to it doesn't have to be picture perfect, right? It does, it can if you want to. But if you're struggling, just get paper plates.
Yeah.
Sit on the floor. Chill out. And I think it's that permission stuff, right? Around
expectations.
It's okay to not be picture perfect.
Yeah. Yes.
Which I think as women we don't do very well.
No. And then probably in that age group where, picking off the kids' plates, like I guess the food part, is massive there, isn't it? Because then there's that sleep deprivation. We see women having coffee.
No
wine
and wine, which is have a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
And then half a chicken nugget that's left over on the sink.
Yeah. So it's, again, coming back to that education part in that of, how do we get to structure your day to make sure that you put yourself first at least some of the time?
Yeah.
To get some food in, get some rest in.
Yeah. Some of the basics.
Hydration. Yeah.
And it's really interesting because when I work with couples, especially with those that have got newborns or young families, often the men and the husbands are saying, Lisa, I just continually say to her, stop.
Yes.
Take a break.
Yeah.
Oh, and so it's not necessarily being generated from husbands and spouses and partners.
No.
It's actually innate within us, right? As a woman that, I've got to do it all.
Yeah.
And I was saying to someone recently, no, actually, I say it all the time. What am I?
Yeah.
We have been sold this concept that women can do it all.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, we can't.
Yeah.
And the other part is, why do we want to?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We don't want to.
No.
Or we shouldn't want to, right?
No.
And no one is doing it all.
No.
And if they are, I promise you, even behind the scenes, people can see you and I talking, but behind the scenes, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 cameras, a tech guy, and there's things behind the scenes.
Yes. Yeah.
That is supporting that framework.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think, it's just about, we want to see behind the scenes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And I'm the same, most people I speak to in clinic, we often feel like people present themselves and they've got themselves together and all looks like everything's working beautifully. And then you hear these stories of these women and, what expectation they're putting themselves up to. And the anxiety and the, depression or fatigue or whatever they're experiencing. It's like, it's such a, and you'd find the same. I think in this industry, we learn very quickly, of that non-judgment because we know people can put themselves together very well, but behind all that, which is a shame because then it's
such a shame.
And I get that, we all want to feel like we have got our shit together and but underneath that, then other women, we are naturally comparing, aren't we? So,
and it's really interesting and that's why I wanted to do this project, right? Especially with the conversations I'm having with people like yourself. It's like we all, as women, we so experience similar things, right?
Yeah.
And yet very rarely are we really honest about them.
Yes.
And I'm like, we just need to bring to light that, if you've had a baby, so to speak, if you've had a baby and you've had postpartum, maybe you were someone who just nailed it. You had no issues. And I'm like, awesome.
Yeah.
But the average woman has had an experience where they've had low points, where they've felt unwell, where the burnout, where they've felt isolated, where they don't know where to start. That's normal. That's more normal than the other.
Yeah.
If you've been listening and watching to this podcast and thinking, I really like what is going on here, there's a high chance that you're going to love my app. 360 Woman app was created for you and me, for the woman, the wife, the mother who just wants some personal growth, who wants to understand themselves, who wants to pursue themselves. So don't stop here at the podcast. Jump on over to 360 Woman, download the app, and I promise you won't be disappointed. The link is in the description of the podcast. Easy to find. I'll see you there.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
And so I think it's about, yes, we can present in a certain way, but also do we have the courage to be honest?
Yes. Yeah.
Right? And I guess people come to you and I guess me to have the courageous conversations.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, definitely. And I find a lot of the time when I'm speaking to my clients in that sort of demographic, they're saying to me, they don't realize that, also I see so many mums with all these things and they just feel like they're so alone and they're the only ones experiencing it. And I'm like, this is more normal than not in a way to have these sort of symptoms.
Yeah.
And, annoyingly not expected, but I guess society where we've got to now, it's no wonder we're seeing this so much because of just, all these layers, isn't there, of just life and demands. And we could probably don't, I would imagine, more rare to see women come out of postpartum feeling good,
running marathons within a week and nailing life, So I guess what you would say fundamentally to maybe a new mum or even a mum who's down the track who maybe still is struggling,
absolutely.
Right? It's not just postpartum. No, it can be so many different ages and stages.
Yeah.
Where do they begin? Like, what would your top tips be? If you're at rock bottom or if you can feel yourself not okay, here would be my hot tips.
Yeah, alrighty. So definitely the food before coffee scenario is probably the biggest one that we see. The coffee being a stimulant, we see trigger that cortisol response, which puts pressure on, blood sugar, adrenals, immune system, other hormone systems. So having that a high protein, and doesn't have to be a lot for breakfast. It could be handful of nuts and seeds with an apple or something like that, but just getting that bit of food in before any coffee to prevent that blood sugar and all the cortisol spike and whatnot. I think it's probably understanding, when I say understanding where you are hormonally, I don't mean necessarily having to go down and get tests done, but often we are very intuitive, aren't we, as to okay, what is going on here?
Yeah, something's not right.
Is it my anxiety? Is it this? And I really think probably also speaking to our partners and our people in our life about it, because we see so many women that have these symptoms and I'm like, have you told your husband how you're feeling? And, they might have a very open, good relationship, but a lot of women haven't even spoken to their loved ones about how they're feeling and they've kind of bottled it up. So I think it is expressing to their, someone in their close network, how they're feeling, just so they can get that off their chest even, because often it's the first time they've told anyone when they speak to me about it. It's like, okay, that's, important for them to...
No pressure on you.
Exactly. And then, obviously from a naturopathic point of view, I tend to find some, there's mixed emotions, isn't there, around multivitamins and supplements and all that sort of thing. But I just think where our soil is at now from a depletion point of view, often what we're seeing is massive mineral deficiency. So we're not getting the minerals in our soil anymore. So even if we're eating organic, if someone was eating 100% organic, there's still studies to tell us that we don't have all the minerals we need in our soil.
Okay, right.
So you've had, and let's say even, especially for some of these mums that have had 2-3 children, it takes, they say nutritionally, anywhere from 3 to 5 years to recover nutritionally from having a baby.
So hang on, say that again.
2 to 5 years, around that 2 to 5 years, depending on, what your depletion was. And then we think about these mums that have baby after baby, and the nutrient depletion that then, I think we think about nutrient depletion is the fuel for the body, energy, hormones, all these things, metabolism. So a lot of the time we're finding, someone might be eating well, but they're also very nutrient deficient. So just whether it be you're checking with your GP or checking with a functional medicine practitioner, just to get a bit of a run as to like what bloods are happening, maybe what your thyroid's doing.
So really basically just some blood work. Just to give some indication.
Just a bit of an vitamins. And it might not be, it's not going to be the whole picture, but it might just at least get you thinking a little bit on your iron, your B12, some basic nutrients and minerals. And again, this is more just to get that conversation started, I think, with somebody more so. So, coffee, food situation, speak to your loved ones, a GP or a naturopath visit or someone to get some blood work done are probably, the basic areas.
But that's a great start, right? So for someone that's watching us today that's like, oh, I don't even know where to start. They are some really
we have to make it easy, I think, do we? Because otherwise, I've got in my head, I've got like a list of 10 other things, but I think, sometimes we have to make it really, really achievable.
Just otherwise, that coffee one alone to start with, right? Yeah. Just and just that awareness of every action is either affecting or affecting one way or another.
Oh, absolutely.
And because when we're in that space of overwhelm or burnout or just plain exhaustion, we can feel so alone. And I think that's what you were talking about before is that, I'm the same. I have women that I'm like, I literally say this on a regular basis. If you could sit next to me and be invisible and watch the women that come through hour after hour, you would feel normal.
Correct. Absolutely.
Whatever normal is. You know what I mean? Like you would feel like, oh, wow.
I'm not the only one.
It's not just
right?
So I love that. So I love that the tips because I think that's really doable.
Yeah, we have to make, and then we go from there, don't we?
Correct. It's a building.
It's a building.
Right?
Really,
And it's the bite sizes that it gives people hope. Of a way through.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so that's postnatal, which is amazing. Yeah. Then, we are going to deep dive, my friend.
My favorite.
One of your favorites. And certainly is something I'm seeing more and more and more and more of. Is the whole perimenopause, menopause scenario. Now, I feel like this is a topic that is really underdone. I think it's gaining traction. Absolutely. But, I mean, I've had to do a lot of study on this myself because I have been seeing so many women coming in with seemingly like anxiety and all these little signs and symptoms. And I'm like, and I send them off. Like, you need to go and get your hormones tested. Like, I actually think this could be a hormonal thing, which can be helpful, right? Because it's better than maybe another scenario. Or it can be, what do you mean?
Yes.
Right? So I guess, starting with perimenopause, can you just explain? Like, really dumb it down for me. What is it?
Yes. Okay.
What does it look like?
So traditionally, I think we would have said perimenopause would have started from, let's say, 45, and we would have had the heavier periods, maybe some hot flushing, the mood changes, the poor sleep, increase of anxiety, and these symptoms are still happening, but what we're seeing now is a lot earlier. So they're really saying now anywhere from 5 to 10 years of perimenopause and such before we hit menopause.
I mean, can we just have a moment? I mean, that's outrageous.
It is outrageous.
That's outrageous.
And I think what I've found is, from a consultant practitioner point of view, is I wonder how much of those first 5 years that we're seeing extended onto that, let's say from the 40 to 45 age group. I don't actually think it's perimenopause. I think it's probably more stress, depletion. Exactly. Impacting our hormones massively, because what we're seeing now is this group of women that are going through with aging parents but still children at home, and we're in that different demographic.
It's called the sandwich generation.
Right? Absolutely. And it's just killing our hormones, unfortunately. So still similar symptoms, except now women are, and hormones are super sensitive to stress, annoyingly. So it's just flowing through that. It looks more perimenopausal. But I really feel, but we see women anyway. I mean, I have women in clinic as young as, 35 say to me, I think I'm in perimenopause.
I guess there are women that do start menopause. There's so many different reasons. But I do probably relate to what you're saying. not that I'm an expert or really that educated in it, is that there's this whole chapter of why is everything becoming like all of a sudden perimenopause is now 10 to 15 years.
Yeah.
Right? As opposed to 5 to 10.
Yeah.
Like that's not just happen for no reason.
Yeah. And I think it's this education stuff, isn't it? In the sense of it gets talked, I feel like, you know, I see it be talked about so much more now in media and socials and that sort of thing. And then we're talked about with those symptoms. But you think about how many women have, you know, hormonal symptoms and PMS symptoms. And then I think naturally do we just put ourselves in that group of, I must be perimenopausal.
And I'm hearing a lot more, even on social media. Right?
Yeah.
The more people talk about it, now everyone's like, oh, I'm perimenopause. And I'm like, actually, have you gone and got tested?
Exactly.
Right? And like, it's like we're so good at jumping on bandwagons and so good at labeling without doing the work.
Yes.
And by the work, I mean having the experts that go, actually, this is your hormones. Yeah. This is what's happening.
Yeah. Because sometimes it's not. Sometimes we get these blood back and I'm like, you know what, you're not in perimenopause.
Yes.
You know, your LH, your FSH are good, your progesterone's good. It might just be that someone's got really high estrogen and really high cortisol.
Yep.
And it looks very similar.
Very similar.
But not, and probably still somewhat treated, you know, as we would in perimenopause. But
but we don't want to label it incorrectly, right? Because who wants to be in perimenopause for 20 years, right? Like, you know. So, okay, so for the women that are, I guess, actually in perimenopause, right? What is like? What do we do?
Yeah.
Like, where do we start? What's the, what are the, you know, the key points to A, understand, and B, some traction in being in the driver's seat?
Yeah. And I think even when we talk about traditional perimenopause, there's really these two phases we want to talk about. The first phase, which is like kind of the first half, I guess, where we would see typically a lower progesterone and a higher estrogen, and this comes with more the heavier periods. So you see women going through this stage where they end up having a hysterectomy because they're having ridiculously heavy cycles, fibroids, that sort of stuff. And this age group, you know, when we look after progesterone and estrogen, we really want to make sure our detox pathways are working well. So gut health here is where it all fits in phenomenally. Right. Because if we're not detoxing through our gut, if their bowels are congested, constipated, bacterial overgrowth, what happens is estrogen we're making more of in this age group typically, and we're also having trouble getting rid of estrogen as well as we should be. And we get rid of estrogen through our bodies, through our liver and our gut. And again, this is the time when we're seeing alcohol increase, coffee increase, putting more pressure on our detox pathways. So all of a sudden we're seeing this amplified high estrogen picture of weight gain, heavy periods, maybe that migraine sort of picture, anything inflammatory sort of base we often see. Insulin resistance, so that whole kind of weight gain or trouble shifting weight section. So I find for this kind of group, it's definitely think about what's happening in your body with gut and liver, you know, your food, your fiber, your water, and also really your alcohol intake. Yeah. And then the progesterone, which goes through all stages of perimenopause and postmenopause, is how can we make sure we're supporting your ovaries? So ovaries are the ones that obviously are supporting your progesterone production, and it's how we release progesterone when we ovulate. But your ovaries are so sensitive to the stress. So this is where, you know, our sleep and getting into this good circadian rhythm of, like, you know, putting our phones down at night, turning off the TV, making melatonin, all those sort of things is really important. And this is the biggest time, I think, managing our stress. So whether it be, you know, the meditation, the self-care, slowing down, the boundaries with work or family or whatever it is. But again, probably just getting some sort of understanding as to, and again, hormones, you know, you can go get a blood test. Often the GPs in this area find that hormones, and it is right, hormones do change day to day, but we can still get a picture.
I was going to say, you get a snapshot.
We can still get a snapshot. And I think that's still pretty valid when we're trying to identify what's going on here. But I think when we think about the perimenopausal picture, and what I was thinking before when you were saying that, is that we don't want to label ourselves in perimenopause or in menopause, and when we can, but we don't want to take that on so much that then we just think that that's how it is and it's okay.
Yeah.
Because I think then it
normalizes everything.
It normalizes it, doesn't it? And then we see women like, oh, it's just peri.
I know. And I'm seeing and hearing that more and more. And honestly, it grates me.
Yeah, me too.
Right? Because I'm like, because it becomes flippant, right?
Yeah.
And so probably like not as much as you, but I've worked with women where perimenopause or menopause has literally impacted their life so negatively.
Yeah.
Like it has had such profound effects. They've had to quit work. Like it's been a real health battle.
Absolutely.
When we're just going up, it's just menopause. The flippancy in that makes me angry because I'm like, it's not, if you've really experienced, I know there's extremes and there's a spectrum, but I don't think we should write it off and joke about it.
No, yeah.
I don't know.
No.
Is that fair?
I agree, yeah. Because all of a sudden you're saying, it's kind of like, the whole, it's the teenage thing as well, isn't it? It's like, oh, mum had it or it's normal.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden people are spending 10, 20 years in this hormonal bit of their life.
And it's also can become, especially from a marriage relationship perspective, I hear men become flippant around, oh, she's just going through menopause. And I'm like, stop.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Stop. We can't, that's not okay.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's a really significant transition for a woman, and it's emotional, and it's mental, and it's physical, and it's all of the things, and it's not something that many would choose.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's not.
Absolutely.
And so when it's mocked or
normalized.
Yeah, I just think that it's unhelpful.
Yeah, it is. And they're saying now it's sort of like this second puberty, in the sense of, the first puberty being like all these hormonal shifts. Really, the menopause or perimenopausal journey is really just the same. Like it's such a transition of estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. And I think we're probably only just getting to understand it now, more than ever before, obviously. But the change of hormones on our brain function, like even just as we get into that second part of perimenopause, when the estrogen starts to drop, and estrogen this is where obviously a lot of women end up on antidepressants, because the estrogen drops. Estrogen has a flow on to make serotonin. So obviously the serotonin drops, our mood drops, and then women end up on, an SSRI or something, when really, if we were to support their estrogen production a bit better, or at least what was affecting their estrogen in the first place, we would prevent that whole journey for some people. And women that I've treated, I've been lucky enough to obviously be consulted long enough now that I've had some clients I've been able to support through
just all the stages. Yeah.
And you see those ones just glide on through because they've done the work. They've balanced out their system before they've hit that real end of perimenopause, sort of menopause transition. And it makes such a difference. And you can see, like, when I see women come in going through perimenopause or menopause, like 90% of the time they've had either a major stress history, they're business owners, or they've had trauma, or they've had kids, to be honest. Trauma. Yeah. Is these big driving factors of how women...
It's true.
Yeah.
And isn't it interesting that, most women, are going through this transition when they've got, kids, teenage kids, they've got maybe parents that they're supporting.
Yeah.
It's like the most impactful time.
Yeah.
And what happens is women's health gets parked.
Yeah.
But you can't park it because it comes for everyone.
Yeah, it does.
It comes for everyone. And it's about our response, I guess.
Yeah. And, I guess as well, like that education, isn't it, where it's, yes, our periods are going to change. We might have some irregular cycles or, maybe some heaviness, but it's knowing when's not also normal, isn't it? Like if someone's, having ridiculously heavy cycles and almost bleeding out, it's like, that is not okay.
No.
Like we need to do something about that.
Correct.
Whether it's progesterone support or, some further intervention, but it's not just saying, because like the amount of people I've spoken to that say to me, oh, it's okay, it's just heavy periods, and we go through how heavy they are. And, it's surprising they're even standing.
Yeah, correct.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I think because they think that there's nothing that can be done, they've been offered perhaps the pill Mirena, maybe they don't want to go down that path. So they're kind of like, oh, well, I'm just going to wait and write it out. And it's like, gosh, that could be another 5 years of writing out before your period stops. Like,
yeah, wow.
How is that going to be okay? So, yeah.
So a bit like I asked you before, what would be your tips for women that are maybe navigating this? They think they might be, they don't know if they are, or they absolutely know they are.
Yeah.
What's the take home?
Yeah, it's a big one, isn't it? I think the take home is identifying probably number one, maybe what your thing is. Is it stress? Is it gut? Is it your sleep? We all often, I think, have things we know that we're probably doing that we shouldn't be doing. Maybe it's too much alcohol. I think sometimes we just need to actually sit down with pen and paper and do a bit of a like life debrief. We're not going to do it with a practitioner even. You know, what does feel good for me, maybe what doesn't feel good for me, what is working for me, what isn't.
And being really honest with ourselves.
Really honest,
right? Because I think that's the key, isn't it?
Because those will often be the things that are unfortunately triggering the hormones more.
And I hear a lot, you know, of women that will say, I'm not giving up alcohol, so don't ask me to.
Yeah.
I'm like, I haven't asked you to.
No.
But there's that defensiveness right, around I'm not. And then you know, well, there's something.
Yeah. Definitely. And I think for that group, it's also that education, isn't it? Because often if we don't have the education, we're not really understanding that, you know, during perimenopause, our liver enzymes actually, you know, change the way we metabolize alcohol. So it's a known thing now that during perimenopause, our ability to metabolize alcohol, we're going to feel so much worse after it. It's going to affect our sleep, our anxiety, our mood.
See, even that, so helpful to know.
Yeah.
For women that you know, have been big drinkers and then all of a sudden what's going on and they keep trying to push through because they want to stay the same, right? And they don't want to be impacted by their body changing. Because that's one of the things that I see and hear a lot is there's a real grief associated with a lot of women around they're not ready to let go of maybe who they were or how their body functioned or that part of their life. And so there's that real holding on.
Absolutely.
And there's like the defensive, I'm not giving that up. No, don't make me do that. I'm not doing that. Right?
And that's where, I mean, most of the time I think with perimenopause, it's, you know, a lot of the time I'm having conversations with, okay, well, how are we going to manage your stress and how are we going to stop it that it's a Friday night and you have a drink or whatever it is. Which a lot of that comes back to, I think, a lot of, like you said, being honest with ourselves. And we often know, like, okay, maybe it's the sleep we're pushing or the boss situation or there's something in our lives that's really a massive toll.
It's confronting the discomfort.
Right?
Because you and I both, you know, we've both been in practice probably the same amount of time. And it's massive. And some days I want to run. Right? And other days I love it. But, you know, it's also about having healthy boundaries. And when we can't be honest with ourselves around where our stress is coming from, the stress is always going to be there. Right? Whether it's in business, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's in, you know, kids and health and diagnosis and aging parents and finance. I mean, it's always coming for us. Right? But it's also about making the space to be able to go, I know my season is full on. I need to dial this back and that back just for a time.
Exactly. Just for a time.
It's just time.
You know, we're not asking people to quit their jobs and, you know, go live on an island, but it's like, what little shifts can we start making? And I find most of the time with that age group, it's sort of like, you know, I find when we do some stress support, we might do some magnesium, we might talk about some sleep, we might talk about some boundaries at work. And then all of a sudden people say to me, oh, you know what, like I'm not taking that stress home with me anymore, or I think once we kind of get a bit of that empowerment, or even just, I find, helping that anxiety, and you probably see this in clinic as well, is we support the stress and then everything else feels a bit easier.
It does.
And then people can take those changes to, you know, maybe it's exercise or eat better or whatever.
And sometimes just acknowledging it goes a long way.
Just having the conversation.
Just having the conversation. And I think stress is a really big topic. I mean, such a big topic. And I think we all know the answers to stress, but it's whether we're willing to acknowledge and make the changes that I guess differentiates those that are in the driver's seat.
And we get used to stress. You know, I say to a lot of clients, you think about the last 20 years coming out of even like high school and studying for people in those earlier years of, you know, work and study perhaps. You stress, you know, you get used to it, your cortisol sits here, and then over the years it just compiles and compiles. And you know, someone might be on the roof and they're like, oh, I'm okay. I feel okay. And it's like if someone else was to step into your body, they would probably be like, this is ridiculous in here. Like, what is going on?
And you would hear people's stories like I do. And I'm like, how are you standing up? And they're like, I got this. And I'm like, no, you don't got this. Or you shouldn't have this, right?
And it's not. I remember this client I had, and I always remember, I reckon for a year, I would say to her, how are you going? How's your stress? Like, how are you feeling? And no, I'm not stressed. I'm fine. And then eventually she said to me, I get it now. I realized like this whole time I have been so stressed, so anxious. And it wasn't until she actually saw it and did the work that then her hot flushes and her hormones and all that balanced out. But it took her a long time to recognize because she was so used to it. And it was so normal.
And we've normalized stress because it comes back to that woman being able to do everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That, I can juggle, so therefore I'm fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's like, actually...
And you might be fine. This is the thing I think it's tricky, that some women do cope quite well with high stress.
Yeah.
But it's like in your body, you are still having that same hormonal impact of the cortisol, the adrenaline, like that doesn't change.
So even no matter who you are.
Cope, people's coping mechanisms can be very good, as we see. But there's no way you can trick your body internally in your brain, in your ovaries and your adrenals to actually to know that, like they will still pick up on these signals of stress hormones, even though you're telling yourself that you're okay.
Exactly. It's wild, isn't it?
You can't ignore it, unfortunately.
No. And I guess listening to you talk, is it fair to say that it's really about, our health obviously matters incredibly.
Yeah.
But it's actually almost the step before managing our health.
Yeah.
It's the awareness.
Yeah.
And it's the emotional attachment and connection to our personhood.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That would actually make people go, I want to take this seriously.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like I said, it's going to feel a bit uncomfortable. A lot of the time it's a lot of people I speak to realize, what I've been doing for the last 10 years
hasn't been working.
Yeah. And now I actually have to go back and rethink, really my life to a certain extent.
Like rehash. And also, I think it's like anything, there's investment, right? So a lot of people, even like with therapy, I don't want to spend the money on therapy.
Yeah.
Okay. But we all spend our money on things,
absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Also, one of the things I've loved hearing from you is there are things that we can do without having to spend money.
Oh,
right.
And that's right. So there's a simple thing.
It's the simple things.
Yeah.
And I think that is a really great starting point for women around this topic of, it's just about acknowledging the fact that your health maybe isn't where it needs to be.
Yeah.
You don't understand it. Yeah. You don't know why.
Yeah.
You got some question marks. Maybe all your friends are telling you, I've got Peri.
Yes.
But actually, we need to just take stock and go, I need to run my race well.
Yeah, definitely. And knowing when it is time, isn't it, to reach out?
Correct.
Get some help. Or even if, like I say to clients, I'd rather you come here, be preventative, maybe run a Dutch hormone test, see where you're at, and know that, okay, you know what, this very rarely happens, but I'd like to think it happens more and more as we get more educated. Okay, maybe my progesterone's a little bit low, maybe my estrogen's high, we can see which liver pathways need work. Imagine if people did the work before it happened and we can see perhaps where it's heading, and we could save so many issues and so many symptoms. It's like if we just learned to be we be proactive about our cars, our kids, do all these things.
We do all the things,
accept our bodies until they fall in a heap, and then maybe I should do something. Or
and then it's a longer ride, right?
It's massive.
And it's like with therapy, people come to me in crisis, and I'm like, where were you 12 months ago?
Yeah.
This was always coming.
Yeah.
All right, so it's the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, yep. Is, and that's just going to be years of knowledge and getting out there. But I think I always say to women, trust when we know. And then the tricky thing is often we end up at perhaps a GP, and we love GPs and I love what they can do. But I think there's also an element where they get to where they've run the bloods. There's nothing wrong.
It's not their specialty.
And then women walk out there feeling like, I'm fine. All my bloods were normal. But then it's like, but you think about how much happens in our bodies, and those blood tests, you might have 20 blood tests done, and there's like thousands of processes that happen in our body. So we can't ever conclude that my doctor said it, so I'm normal and everything's okay. We have to trust that, sometimes I don't actually feel myself and I don't feel right. Often that journey is just digging a bit deeper, isn't it?
And I think also we don't want to know, right?
Oh, there's that denial.
There's the avoidance part.
Absolutely.
Which you would see as well as I do. So I still think it's about courage, right?
Yeah. It is. Because it's going to take some work. People don't go on a health journey or any journey and it's not going to be easy, is it? Which does. It takes courage, and people have to be ready and willing to be at that point.
To go there.
Yeah.
So amazing, Jacqui. Yes. Thank you so much. When I knew you were coming on, I was like, oh gosh, we've got so much to get through. It's like, but I think, for the audience watching this, there's something in this for everyone. And I think as women, we need to just acknowledge that through every season and age and stage, our bodies and our hormones in the car with us.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And someone like yourself
Yeah.
and your team are here to literally put some fuel in the tank.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
Which I think is amazing.
Yeah.
And as you said, the medical model kicks its own goals and there's all power to them.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think a combination of being open to that more alternative, if that's even a word now,
is it? It's like,
is it alternative or is it?
are we just treating our bodies as they should be treated?
Yeah, right. It's crazy, isn't it? That came out, I was like, why do we call it alternative?
Yeah, well, we still are, I suppose.
I know, but
medicine.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It shouldn't be. It should just be
first medicine.
Yeah, right. You're the oldest.
Yeah.
But yeah. So look, thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome.
And obviously, people are going to be able to find you through all the links that are going to be connected. And I hope that there's at least one or two women that watch this and go, okay, it's time.
It's time.
It's time.
Yeah.
And that they can find you and you can be fabulous.
Yes.
So thank you so much.
I love that so much. Thanks, Liz.
All right.
If you made it to the end of this podcast, congratulations. And I'm so thankful. Make sure you put it in your diary. Every 2 weeks, an episode drops with great content, great humans, with great stories and information that hopefully can support you. If this podcast reminded you of someone in your life that absolutely needs to hear it, send them the link. They'll thank you later.